Movietong Shogunas closes its doors permanently, the opposition leader responds to the budget, and the World Health Organization makes a 180 degrees flip on its original policy position. What a week we have had, and just so much to get to. But before we dive into the events of this last week, let me first welcome back everyone to episode number 15 of Viewpoint, the Brian Heeraman podcast. I know I say this practically every week, but just allow me to give another reminder and to let all our new listeners know that this podcast is available on all major podcasting apps, including Google Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, and Spotify. Also, I want to take this opportunity to give a special hello to all my new listeners. I want to encourage everyone again to download at least the Google Podcasting app. It will surely make your podcasting experience much more enjoyable. So download a Google app, like, subscribe, and that way you will get a notification instantly when a new episode is loaded. Especially one of my talking points memos when I load one of them, so you will know exactly when those come around. Because remember, those come out during the week when something happens that I feel I need to punch in and give an input on. So look out for that. Download one of those podcasting apps and you won't regret it. I feel like if this week has went by so quickly, and before I know it, I'm sitting here and it's Sunday and I'm doing this next episode. And Trinidad, I honestly feel Trinidad have some sort of special timeline. And news events as it relates to that timeline, it just keeps getting more interesting and crazy. I don't know which one it is, but news just never stops in Trinidad. I mean, just today, I'm reading that Movie Town Chaguanas is closing its doors permanently. And the owner, that is Mr. Derek Chen, is claiming that COVID 19 and a difficult landlord is causing or is forcing him to make this move. For those of you who are outside Trinidad and Tobago and you don't know who Mr. Derek Chen is, he's a local business magnate. I mean, this guy owns a lot of properties and a lot of businesses. But I know he'll be okay because he has other branches in Port of Spain and I think it was in C3. Was it C3? Yeah. Somewhere he has other branches. But I feel horrible for the workers of that branch of Movie Town because I know they will be displaced and they will no longer have a job in an economy that is showing zero signs of recovery. And I say zero signs of recovery to understand why I'm so pessimistic about this economy. And it's just that if you listen to my last episode, my last talking point memo, that would be the second talking point memo, you would understand why I say all of this. I mean, last Monday, the 5th of October, was Budget Day in Trinidad and Tobago. And something that I forgot to mention, and I want to go into it in this episode, um, largely speaking from the budget speech by the Minister of Finance. When you listen to it, there was not one new revenue generating activity besides taxing the already hard pressed population up to our necks. That is the only method. This it seems as though this regime, the only way of raising revenue that they know about is to tax you. I keep saying there's going to come a point in time when there's not going to be any more money that you can tax the citizen and that's not going to be able to pay. I mean, there's no new mention to ease, for example, and this is an issue that's close to me. No new mention to ease the foreign currency pressure and to solve that. The only method this Minister of Finance made mention of in terms of decreasing the demand for foreign currency is to tackle the foreign use car industry. And that eventually is going to destroy that industry and all those small businesses and all those people who are, gainfully employed in that industry will soon be on the breadline as well, creating another problem. But as I mentioned, something that I didn't mention in my talking point memo, my second talking point memo, is the Minister of Finance's method of curtailing the demand for USD is to limit the importation of foreign used cars. And that is the only way that he seems to be able to stop the demand. But I don't know how many of you remember this, but let's take a walk down memory lane because I remember this quite clearly. I remember in December 2015 when the then governor of the central bank, Mr. Jawaharlal, he had made mention, or actually he had released the users or the major users of foreign currency in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, if you are intending to curtail demand, one would expect that you would try and limit the major users in terms of how much foreign currency they demand. So I'm guessing that the Minister of Finance would have think that how foreign used car dealerships they use a lot of demand. So if that is the case, let's see if Jawala Ramaran list includes foreign used car dealers. So remember, this is December 2015. Those numbers may very well have increased. They won't go down that much because it's a whole 5 years. So retail and distribution. Here are the names of these companies that use the majority of foreign currency in Trinidad and Tobago. And these numbers that I'm going to call are all going to be in US dollars. PriceSmart, 507 million. Quartz, 198 million. Smith Robinson and Company, 169 million. A.S. Bryden, 153 million. Massey Distribution, 136 million. Now remember, 2015, major foreign currency users, not one mentioned in the budget for curtailment. Check the next list, manufacturer, Nestle, 174 million, Whitco, 129 million, Carib, 107 million, NFM, NFM being the National Flour Mills, 102 million, Caribbean Butlers, 94 million. Wait, what is this? No, wait. Caribbean Butlers, they're the makers of Coca-Cola. So, yeah, they get to use how much they want. It's not a problem. Yeah, fine. Okay, we'll edit that part out. Right. So, Caribbean Butlers, 94 million. Automobiles. So, we finally reach automobiles. Let's see which foreign used car dealer in the automobile section using up a significant amount of foreign currency. Southern Sales, 275 million. Massey Motors, 251 million. Toyota, 245 million. Diamond Motors, 59 million. Lifestyle Motors, 36 million. Up to now, I have not seen which part those foreign used car dealers are using up the majority of foreign currency. The Minister of Finance did mention he's going to put a quota on the new car industry, but he didn't mention what the quota was. So clearly, that's a zero. But Massey Distribution and Massey Motors together, they use $387 million. No curtailment for these major users of foreign currency. Jawala Rambaran did went on, and one of the reasons that they cite for him losing his job is because he released this list. I want to see the list as it relates to 2020. I want to see who are using the majority of foreign currency and why they are not feeling the pinch like I am in terms of getting foreign currency. Telecommunication, TSTT, 294 million. Digicel, 263 million. Columbus Communication, 250 million. No curtailment for them. But everybody else got curtailment with regards to demands for foreign currency. But I just wanted to go down memory lane in that area so that you guys get a full understanding of who are the major foreign currency users and how come they have not been given any curtailment, but why are you going after the foreign car industry? It's just crazy. But wait, anyhow, I digress. Let's move on. And I was talking about what was I talking about? Yes, the movie town Chagonas being closed and the reason being given. What I don't quite understand is why anybody would want to create well, not necessarily an enemy, but why would you want Derek Trent to not be a customer of yours? I mean, clearly he would be paying his rent, but obviously in this situation, what would cause you to follow up with Derek Trin to the point where Derek Trin would call you out as being a difficult landlord? It has to do with something with the rent, because obviously he's probably saying that he's not getting any revenue because his cinemas are closed, so he's unable to pay rent for that facility. So it's strange, but I guess whatever the difficulty that they had was probably huge, if not just rental and whatever issues. And I'm pretty sure the details will come to light soon, and that sensible businessman or woman, the name of that person will very well come out. The workers, like I said, they're the ones I'm worried about because, yeah, so October the 5th, yeah, Monday, October the 5th was budget day in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'll tell you why I'm concerned about the workers now. Because Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, her response was to the budget was on Friday, and Friday was the 9th. And she gave a response. But what I picked out, having listened to the entire response, was her analysis as it relates to unemployment, right? The figures. How she came up, well, she didn't come up with a figure, but you know, CSO is a waste of time because they have no figures for unemployment, and this government clearly seems to be hiding the unemployment figure for whatever reason. But coming out of the leader of the opposition, Ms. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, response to the budget, she mentioned that she gave possible unemployment indicators, right? And her analysis is what had me because it was startling. You know, the government 4% figure, like I mentioned, is rubbish. Mr. Prasad Bisesa used the National Insurance Board data, right? Basically, she used how much people are paying contribution to how much people stop paying contribution, and she did a difference on that. And what it shows, well, the figures are kind of old too because they were from June 2018, but it still gives us an indication of what's going on. And I'll tell you, you will understand why I say it gives a pretty good indication as I move along. In June 2018, it shows that the number of people contributing to the National Insurance Board dropped from 560,000 to 452,000. Now, that is a decrease in some 64,000 people who are no longer contributing. And even if I were to round it off to say 60,000, because obviously there would be some people who retired in that period of time and they would no longer be making contribution, but it's still a huge number. And that 64,000 number, it doesn't take into consideration, sorry, major closures of plants such as Petrotrin. And we all know that Petrotrin probably had like about 5,000 workers who were contributing to the National Insurance Board. That 60,000 figure or 64,000 figure does not include Petrotrin. And yet, other plants that were closed at that point, closed after the June figure, is still not included. So it's not just Petrotrin. But what is even scarier is the fact that that figure is still pre COVID 19. COVID 19 didn't hit Trinidad and Tobago when those June 20 figures came out. Can you imagine the real um, figure post COVID 19? I'm thinking it's got to be clearly over 100,000 people unemployed since, well, after COVID 19. That 4% unemployment figure in my mind, it has to be a figure in dreamland. They can't be serious about a 4% unemployment figure. The workers from Movie Town, I think they're going to find it immensely difficult to get jobs in an economy where the unemployment is quite possibly near 15%. And I hope the minister finally brings some sort of figure to prove me wrong. We hand it over to him. Let's see what he comes up with in terms of the unemployment figure, what data he has to support otherwise. But you see, and COVID 19 didn't do anything to ease the termination of workers. We are at right now 5,100 infected cases and something like 90 deaths. But this continued shutdown is only killing jobs and small businesses. And I've said this before, but I'm repeating it today because I have a new friend in terms of supporting my arguments, and you won't believe who it is. You see, The World Health Organization right now has made a 180 degrees flip on their original position. The organization, that is the World Health Organization, the WHO, which is now a shell of what it once stood for in terms of credibility and respect, is now saying that the lockdowns have consequences. And the only consequences that it's having is making poor people an awful lot poor. Dr. David Nabarro from the World Health Organization appealed to world leaders to stop using lockdown as your primary control of COVID 19. Now, I mean, this is it. This is it, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Minister of Health. They love using the World Health Organization guidelines and, best in class practice. But this is what they're saying now. This is their new standard. This is their new policy. So, if this is what they're saying now, I urge the Prime Minister to reopen the economy, reopen the borders. I mean, people, I need to get out there. We need to travel. We need to go out and see what's going on. I mean, being trapped in this turnout under all these stress and strain is causing people significant issues. I mean, there's no jobs yet. There's no opportunities for young people. People need some form to get out there and some recreation. The economy needs to open back. But enough about turnout for right now. Let's focus on something else. One of my favorite topics to talk about. Did you all watch the vice presidential debate in the United States with Mike Pence and Kamala Harris? Now, if you didn't, you missed out something and you need to go back and find it. That was a debate. That debate should be made compulsory viewing for all school children. I mean, it's an opportunity to watch Vice President Mike Pence clinically take out the liberal ideologies of Kamala Harris and the far left wing radical Democrats. I mean, Vice President Pence, he was respectful, he was firm, and his arguments were supported by well researched facts. He showed the world that he showed the world the true nature of Kamala Harris and what her record stands for and what are the possible outcomes of her planned policies. I mean, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are afraid to categorically state whether or not they are willing to stack the United States Supreme Court. And they're afraid because to say no basically would mean that they are going to upset the far left arm of the Democratic Party. And that base they need to continue in this campaign race. Vice President Pence called out Kamala Harris on this point. Not just once, but 4 times he called out asking her, are you going to stack the courts? Her refusal to answer only puts the spotlight on her and Joe Biden and will continue to make this US 2020 November elections more so an election about the future of the United States Supreme Court. You see, Democrats have always wanted to use the U.S. Supreme Court as some sort of a super legislature instead of having Congress, the elected people, instead of using the elected people to make laws, because they firmly believe that once they control the legislature, the Supreme Court, they can use the Supreme Court as a legislature to pass and to approve policies via the court that will have far-reaching consequences in terms of its repercussions and how it has to be set as precedent. So that's why they want to control the Supreme Court, not because they care about laws and all that stuff. No, they don't care about that. They just want to use it as a form of control because they are afraid of the people. That's what Democrats is all about. They're afraid of allowing the people to have a say in what they're doing because they know the people don't agree with all of their far left policies. But an even more interesting thing happened this week besides the debate, and that is Donald Trump survived COVID-19. I mean, he's proven to the world once again that he's not just a strong leader, but his survival is something that that we should all be thankful for, but it's driving Democrats crazy. The energy level of Donald Trump is amazing. It's amazing. Joe Biden is not in Donald Trump class. As I've said before, Joe Biden doesn't even know where he is on his good day. Donald Trump is, I mean, he's he's only coming out of COVID-19. Well, his official doctors his confirmation he doesn't have COVID-19 or could spread COVID-19 anymore is from today, and he's getting ready to go back on the campaign trail as early as Monday, the 12th of October. I mean, they ought to study this guy energy level. It's amazing. It's amazing how Donald Trump just bounces. No matter how much they throw at him, he just bounces back. And one thing I should have mentioned to prove that Joe Biden doesn't even know what's going on, he actually telling the voters that they'll get his position unstuck in the court after the election. I mean, Donald Trump, I think, after this election is comes by, is going to prove that how Democrats, their far left policies are not good. So I'm sometimes asked, why do I favor Republicans over Democrats? Or why do I favor the MAGA doctrine, the Make America Great Again doctrine over Democrats? And it's quite simple. I mean, when you look at the difference in ideologies, you understand why. Democrats, for example, they favor centralized power, whilst, Republicans favor decentralized power. I mean, Republicans favor the content of one's character. Democrats favor identity politics. They're always looking at about where you come from instead of, the content of your character, like I mentioned before. Republicans favor capitalism. Democrats are communists. I mean, why would anybody favor Democrats? Republicans believe in men and women. Democrats believe in 64 genders. The pronouns is a gender as well. Or you wake up whenever morning and you believe whatever gender you are, that is what they say you are. Republicans favor, for example, free speech. Democrats are more into censorship. Republicans believe in forgiveness. Democrats believe that if you do something wrong, they should cancel you totally. Republicans believe that I can disagree with you. Well, Democrats believe that if they disagree with you, you're a racist. I mean, it goes, the list goes so much more, but this is what I've written down so far as to why I believe in Republicans' ideologies as compared to Democrats. Oh, our next one I can think of. Republicans believe in personal responsibility. Instead of Democrats, they more focus on like victimhood. They believe in if something happens to you, you're a victim. They don't look at personal responsibility for the situations that you're in. So those are some of the basic policies, stance, and why I suppose a Republican stance as compared to a Democrat stance. And I think I'm going to call it a day today for this podcast and invite you to tune into my next episode. And let's just see what happens during the course of the week. Maybe I might come out with another talking point memo if something very interesting happens. And as I mentioned, Trinidad and Tobago has a very interesting timeline. So something may very well happen. And the chances are, yeah, we're on a pretty high side for things happening given how this economy has been going. So stay safe, guys, and thanks for tuning in.